Welcome to the Will Talks Disney YouTube page. Host Will Rinaldi here. Hope you guys had a great Labor Day, and I have an interesting story that we're about to get into, brought to you from Tom Bricker at Disney Tourist Blog. So if you're not following Tom, he has great content, always is producing something good. He's long form like I am on the keyboard. So if you like that type of stuff, give Tom a follow. But we're about to go into an interesting topic. Labor Day weekend, everything looked like it was going to line up. Are we going to have a crowdpocalypse? Let's find out. For any of you that have been to the parks lately, you've noticed that the crowds have obviously been significantly lower than what we've seen, obviously, for a normal summer. But there came this scenario, are we going to have a crowdpocalypse? So if you take a look at the story that's on your screen now from Tom Bricker, Labor Day weekend, Disney World crowdpocalypse? No. So let's see what's happened. Okay. As everyone knows, Labor Day is the last hoorah for summer crowds, and as the off-season begins at Walt Disney World, to Tom. So they had anticipated high attendance, long lines, and elevated wait times. For starters, and again, this is all coming from his article, our expectations for heavy attendance was predicted on a few observable factors, which are relevant here because they impact future holidays and Walt Disney World. So for any of you that are looking to plan holiday trips, we're talking Thanksgiving and Christmas, this is a very important article, as hopefully will lead to what is actually going to happen as we move later on in the holiday season. Okay, so we have a couple different factors that we're talking about here. So we got first, all hotels were sold out at Walt Disney World for Friday and Saturday nights. Same goes for the DVC resorts. Third, hotels in Bonnet Creek and Disney Springs did have availability, as did some off-sites, but options were limited. So if you look at the number of people that are coming into the parks, this is huge. If all the hotels, again, there's some NBA teams that are taking up hotels, but from a capacity standpoint, if hotels are still being at full capacity now, this could lead to what we'll see in the parks. Now the second factor, so Disney Park Pass availability for Labor Day weekend was virtually non-existent. As undoubtedly aware by now, there's three buckets. So you got the buckets, you got day park guests, you have on-site hotel guests, and then you also have annual pass holders. So they make up the three systems. Basically, there's all different buckets of tickets. As there is more availability from one bucket, it can get shifted over to the annual pass holders. So that's kind of what I've been saying my whole time, is I wish that, say within 2 weeks, that those buckets could get redistributed, and that our folks that are APs, especially local APs, have the chance to go to the parks and visit more often. And then there's also some travel data that's actually very interesting. So round trip flight reservations for the weekend, so the 4th through the 8th, showed Orlando as the number 3 destination in the world. This is all the way up from number 14. Likewise, 5 of the top 10 hotel reservation cities came from Florida, with 4 of them being all the way around like the Disney bubble area. So you got Orlando, you got Lake Buena Vista, Bay Lake, and Kissimmee. So you put all these 3 things together, you got full crowds. You've got park reservation that's completely blank for everyone, and you have all this travel data saying that people are coming, and then they're specifically coming to Orlando, Kissimmee, Lake Buena Vista, and Bay Lake. So all these 4 places. So what did happen? So if this, like Tom says, so if this term sounds familiar, it's mainly because it's what they were using out in Galaxy's Edge for LA. So when they were looking at LA, when Galaxy's Edge first opened up, everyone thought the crowds are going to be crazy. You're not going to be able to get in. It's going to be wall to wall. But for some reason that summer, that never materialized. We're still trying to figure out why. It's possibly that people didn't want to go to the parks during that time. They didn't want to go through the rides and everything like that, and they didn't want to just be in long lines all the time. So people stayed, hey, I'll wait, I'll go later. So maybe that's what happened here, and that's why there weren't crowds. So as we continue to go down, so if you look at this picture right here, right down Main Street, it's pretty wide open. I mean, if you were to have this at any other time besides COVID, being able to walk down Main Street, I mean, the castle's beautiful here, but there is nobody here. So we're not seeing any of the crowds like we were expecting. Now, like he's saying in this article, there are always those photos that can be misleading. So if it's raining, people crowd into certain places. So especially like the little tunnel area between Frontierland and Liberty Square. There's a big gateway with bathrooms, so people tend to crowd there too. So don't always believe what you see in a picture of a snapshot of what's going on. Again, he goes into saying that even though queues were extended and they were doing all these rope backs and changeovers and trying to like have extended queues because they were planning for the worst, they never did materialize. So again, you've always got to take everything with a grain of salt. If something looks like it's bad, potentially it could be, but there's always the possibility that you need to do a little bit more investigation and move forward and form your own opinions on those. So kind of, and then what we've seen out of all the parks, Hollywood Studios has been the busiest. I think it's been the hardest to get park reservations for, and this is mainly due to Galaxy's Edge, and that the park is just smaller. It's got less attractions open right now, but from a physical standpoint, when you break that down to 20 or 30%, that's why you start seeing crowd levels as low as they are. So again, people were fearing the worst. Everything's coming out, got all this data, but then people just didn't show up. So as we continue to go through down, Hollywood Studios over the weekend had a great day, went through all of its boarding pass groups, which doesn't always happen. It's usually depend on ride performance for Rise of the Resistance. So that was good to see. And then even here, I mean, you look at these park pictures and there's nobody here. I mean, this is a dream. I mean, obviously it rained a ton this weekend, but to be able to go to the parks and not have to wait in very many lines or, you know, kind of your normal lines that you'd see. There is one thing that he mentions here, where at Magic Kingdom, the longest things were literally for new snacks and novelty food packaging. So you got the Madame Leota Sipper at Sleepy Hollow is the new hot thing. If you haven't seen the Disney Parks blog, definitely go check that out for all the new Halloween stuff that's hitting the parks, especially starting September 15th. So we're getting closer to that. And then I don't know what's happened. Maybe I've been in a Disney bubble before, but now there's all these eBay pirates that are just coming in. I don't know why Disney allows this, but I wish they would get rid of those folks as well. But yeah, I mean, as you can see, they're putting in markers. This is a shot for Rock and Roller Coaster. This is fairly far outside the queue, but again, there's nobody here. So again, as you look into the different parks, these different shots, Magic Kingdom coming from Tomorrowland into the hub, nobody there. So what is going on? Why is this happening? I mean, from all of the data that we have from the park reservations, from the hotels, from the flights, where did all these people go? If you look at social media for the past couple of days, you'll get Universal and other places, they were full. And there were some pretty uncomfortable shots as far as people in the parks. I think this just goes to show, and then kind of as you continue to see here, is that, yeah, Disney and their leaders, as Tom is saying, is that they're going to worst case scenario. We've seen this in the past so far with the park reservation system, where they'll actually lower the park reservations to be less than what the capacity is. Now, Disney has not released what their full capacity is, but we think that it's somewhere in that 20-30% range. So based on what we saw, it looks like Disney is lower than capacity, which is then lowering the crowds. So one great thing that has happened over the last couple of weeks is they have started to shift those buckets. So within the last 2 weeks, and they kind of do it on a rolling schedule, is they'll start releasing more into the annual pass holders, which is really, really good. Now, Universal has a different system, like Tom mentions here in the article, where it's first come, first serve, versus the park reservation. So there's less friction. It's not as hard to get into the parks. Like Tom says, I'm a little bit back and forth to which system I like. I think for my local APs, especially where Disney's at as far as like a cash management, cash flow standpoint, if people want to come into your parks, you should find every way that you can to allow people to come into your parks. And again, this is all based on safety, capacities, and things like that. If there's already a ton of people, then and it's at full capacity, all the buckets, then don't allow people in. But if you're holding up space because you want people to buy same-day tickets, or you're holding it for hotel guests, and you're not allowing your APs, who are arguably some of your most loyal fans, I think Disney is missing the mark here. So while Disney, again, needs to focus on safety, I think they also need to realize that their local APs are some of their best guests they have, and they need to prioritize those guests now, because unfortunately, like me, I go once a year, and Bob Chapek a couple weeks ago did make a comment that your person that comes on vacation for a week spends more money per day than your average annual pass holder per day. But that does not look at the whole picture. If you look at the whole value, and again, just going in a purely number sense, comparing APs versus day guest, and then even theme park resort guests for 1 week, you can't, unless you're looking at the whole picture. Again, statistics and numbers, you can get whatever you want to see. So if you just want to look at it on a purely average per day standpoint, yes, he is right. But to alienate your local APs is never a good thing. So I like the way Disney is doing this. I like that they're being more spontaneous, not spontaneous, but they're reacting to what's going on. I think the worst thing that we could have is Disney not move with the times. As people stop vacationing, school gets in, people are coming into the parks less. They really have to do a good job of catering to their most loyal guests. So as we kind of finally wrap up this video, again, what Tom is saying here, I fully agree with him. I think that Disney is cautious. They're focusing on safety. Obviously, they opened up last out of all the parks, and I think this is a good thing. No, we didn't see the Crowdpocalypse, but I think it's because of what Disney was doing intentionally. I think moving towards the end of the year, you start going towards Thanksgiving week and Christmas. If Disney continues to do this same type of policy, where they're gonna keep it low, you have to plan. So if you're not planning and you're not doing your due diligence a couple weeks, a couple months ahead of time, you could be disappointed. So I know there's a couple good deals out there. Talk to your travel agent, look online, see what makes sense for you, see what makes sense for your family. If you can get down and you feel safe, then go. Because if you look at pictures like this, you don't see pictures like Galaxy's Edge like this. You don't see Hollywood Studios at night this empty. And again, Magic Kingdom, for Magic Kingdom, it may look a little busy here, but still, compared to what a normal day is, it's unbelievable. So, I mean, really, if you can get down and you do it safely, go for it. So overall, I think Disney's doing the best job out of any of the theme parks that are open right now. And I think they'll continue to do a great job. So if you get down, go. And if not, again, this is video number 1. So we'll hopefully be back to you within the next couple of days. If you have any comments, let me know. Love to talk to you. I do have an Instagram at Will Talks Disney on Instagram. So if you want to follow me there too, let's spark a conversation and let's have some fun. Appreciate the time. And as always, be safe.